Monster Hunter has now officially hit theaters. I went and saw it, so I want to know also in the comments below, what are your thoughts on Monster Hunter? Because I'm about to give you guys my opinion, how I viewed the film. Did I love it? Did I hate it? But I also want to know what you guys all thought. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash that like button as well and hit that subscribe button as well. Please hit the subscribe button if I could speak properly, because most of the people that watch this video aren't subscribed. So make sure you hit that so you don't miss another video, and make sure you turn notifications on as well. And let's make 21 a banger. So let's get into this review.
Perfect.
So what is Monster Hunter? Monster Hunter is a film where a group of army officers are being trapped in a new world. They've gone through a portal. They're being like teleported to a new world, from our world to a new world that is full of monsters. That's right, full of monsters. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about. It's basically kaiju. If you've seen Pacific Rim, this falls pretty similar to Pacific Rim, I would say. But anyway, what did I think of this film? Look, overall, it's an average film. It is an average film. It's not great, and it's not the worst. And what do I mean by that? Look, I'm going to start off by saying the characters, there is no characters in this film. They do not develop a single character. No, they don't develop a character. I literally didn't care for a single character in this film. I'm sitting there and I'm like, it just jumps straight into it. Like, no backstory, no nothing. I'm like, am I supposed to already know the backstory of these characters? Am I supposed to know what his whole thing is? What her is? But I had no idea. So that emotional attachment I had to them as characters, where I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, please don't die, please don't die. I'm like on the edge of my seat. I wasn't really there. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, well, I don't care for these characters. Cool, they're dead. Like, okay, that's cool. Didn't care. I mean, I don't feel sad or bad about them or anything like that. It's just pretty cool to watch them die, but that's about it. And that's what I felt with the characters. So I have to knock it hard on the character, because there is no characters. Even by the end, I still am sitting here struggling, trying to figure out what the character arcs were. There's a whole sequence at the in the middle, from the first act and the middle act, in between there, where these two particular characters are fighting each other for no reason. And it's just pointless. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this whole fight sequence is pointless. There's no narrative to it. I don't care for the characters. What's the point of this fight? It served no purpose. The fight literally served no purpose. No narrative purpose. That's annoying. That is very annoying, because if there's no narrative purpose to the fight, it's just visual noise. And that's what it was. And the characters were really, really bad. Like, I couldn't tell you any character arcs. I couldn't tell you any character arcs, which is unfortunate, because a movie like this should have characters. Now, the action sequences are phenomenal. The special effects are phenomenal. The creatures look great, and they're designed great. And I loved every aspect about it. The spider creatures were actually really scary. And there were some few sequences through that really gave off a horror vibe. And that's another bad thing. Well, you could say it's a bad thing as well in this film. It didn't really know what it wanted. It was like horror, action, comedy sort of film. And I was kind of like sitting there kind of struggling to determine, what is this film? Because the first act with the spiders and that is so horror. It is really, really horror. Like, oh, it's disgusting. It's a horror film. And like, I'm talking like it's pretty gruesome. And it's like, things are jumping out, popping out. This had more jump scares and felt more like a horror film than Annabelle Comes Home and like that. This felt more horror in that first act, and then it switches tone to a different type of movie, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, that's a bit of a tone shift there. And now it's a pure action film, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, the action is great, but again, is this an action film or is it a horror film? What is it? And the tone was all over the place. I'm kind of sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay. Right. It's a bit interesting. The story, the actual story of the film, I couldn't tell you what the story was. I actually couldn't tell you what the story was. It's basically, she gets transported there and she's trying to get home. That's the story. That is the story. That's it. There's no, like, subplots or anything else like that. There's just, it's just really felt like a film that they just put together to create a monster film that had great action in it. That's what it felt like. I mean, I was sitting there, I was like, I'm not attached, one, I'm not attached to the characters. Two, I don't know what this film wants it to be. Does it want to be a horror? Does it want to be action? Does it want to be comedy? Some of the jokes didn't land. And then I'm like, what's the whole story? Like, this story that's not there. Like, don't get me wrong, it's cool. I love the action sequences. I thought the action sequences were amazing. And I was riveted. I was invested in the action sequences and watching fight the monsters and stuff like that. And then just kind of like, the rest of it is kind of like, okay, it's a bit weird. And then some of the times, like, they'd get whacked, like I'm talking absolutely peppered by this creature into, like, through, like, bricks and, not bricks, rocks and that, and then just, and they'd survive. And I'm just kind of like, that's a bit weird. That's a bit weird that he just survived that. But yeah, it's one of those films where it's like, it's hit and miss. Some people may love this. What I think this film is basically switch your brain off, sit back, relax, get the popcorn out, and just don't think about it, and just enjoy the action sequences. That's what this film is. This isn't one of those films where you're going to sit there and you're going to be, like, enthralled in the story, or you're going to be invested in the characters. This is one where you're just going to sit there and be like, yo, let's just watch a dumb, fun action film. Boom, put on Monster Hunter. That's what it is. So let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on Monster Hunter? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have the same view as me? I want to know. I want to know people that absolutely love this film. I want to know. So let me know. And make sure you hit that, smash that. Right. Are we going to hit it or smash it? We'll do both. That like button. Do that. And don't forget to hit subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.